The First World War and its consequences in Africa. The First World War represented a turning point in African history, not as dramatic as the Second World War, but nevertheless important in many areas. One of its most important legacies was the reordering of the map of Africa roughly as it is today. The First World War was essentially a quarrel between European powers which involved Africa, both directly and indirectly, because at the outbreak of hostilities the greater part of it was ruled by the European belligerents. Campaigns were fought on African soil, which, though they only marginally affected the overall course of war, had significant implications for Africa. More than 1 million African soldiers were involved in these campaigns, or campaigns in Europe. Even more men, as well as women and children, were recruited, often forcibly, as carriers to support armies whose supplies could not be moved by conventional methods such as road, rail or pack animal. Over 150,000 soldiers and carriers lost their lives during the war. Many more were wounded and disabled. By the time the war ended, every country in Africa, with the exception of the small Spanish territories, which remained neutral, had been formally committed to one side or the other. Belgian, British, French, Italian and Portuguese administrations were allied more or less actively against German colonies. Even the last remaining independent states on the continent, Liberia, Ethiopia, and Darfur, became involved. Liberia declared for the Allies on the entry of the United States into the war in 1917. The pro-Muslim boy emperor of Ethiopia, Legacies, proclaimed his country's allegiance to Turkey, thereby causing considerable concern among the Allies that he would inspire a jihad among the Muslims of the Horn of Africa, where Syed Muhammad Abdul Hassan's forces were still giving trouble to the British. British, French and Italian troops moved to Berbera, Djibouti and Massawa, but the intervention proved unnecessary since shocked Christian nobles overthrew the emperor in September 1916. Similarly, Sultan al-Dinar of Darfur, nominally tributary to, but effectively independent of, the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, responded to the Turkish call to jihad and raided French Chad, threatened British Borno, northern Nigeria, and tried to stir up revolt in Kordofan, Sudan. Not until February 1916 was he defeated and killed in battle, and Darfur fully incorporated into Sudan. Whether directly involved in the fighting or not, nearly every African territory was affected by the exclusion of the Germans from the African trade, the wartime shortages of imports caused by scarcity of shipping space, or, on the brighter side, sudden booms in demands for strategic resources. A great deal has been written about the European campaigns in Africa during the First World War, and the consequent distribution of German territory among the victorious Allied powers, the last chapter in the scramble for Africa. Much less has been written about the impact of the war on Africans and on the administrative structures recently imposed on them by their European conquerors. How far did these fragile structures withstand the exodus of European administrative personnel, the spectacle of white conqueror fighting white conqueror, the exactions on recently subdued Africans in terms of men and material, and the widespread revolts that took place on the occasion, though not always directly, or even indirectly, as a result of the war? What were the social, political and economic consequences of involving Africans in the European war? It is with these broad questions that this chapter will be principally concerned. However, a brief account of the military campaigns is essential if we are fully to understand the implications of the war for Africa. Thanks for watching. Please share, like and subscribe. Thanks.